Okay, let's start the discussion then with Mr. Bismak Rawane, of course, who joins us. Mr. Rawane is the Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company. Thank you so much for your time and compliments of the season.
Same to you.
Dr. Muda Yusuf, thank you, a familiar face, just like Mr. Rawane. Thank you so much for your time. They're both in our Lagos studios. We also have, of course, joining us from Kano. IJ, you want to do that honor?
That's right. Joining us from our Kano studio, we have Qabir Ibrahim. He's the National President of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us, and compliments of the season to you.
Same to you, thank you.
So
yes,
please go on.
One more person joining us via Zoom, Ladi, because obviously talking about the economy, we're also looking at infrastructure, but we'll introduce him shortly. Ladi, carry on.
All right, then. Mr. Rawane, set the stage for the economy for us in 2021.
Okay. 2021 was what we call the ups, downs, and the bumpy road. Economics has moved from just being a data science to being a well-being science. So one thing is to have strong data, but you must also have the well-being of the people. So the question is, in 2021, we had some good news. We also had some difficult times, but we also have some challenges. So let us start. I'm going to take the country and viewers through 14 items that were strong, right? Let's start from that. First and foremost, positive growth, 4.03 in the third quarter. But don't forget there was a base year, because you grew negatively by -6 the previous second quarter. So doing 5 or 4% from the base is important. But also, and that's why we're saying that strong data and perplexed people. What does a perplexed man mean? How does he feel? He's completely baffled and puzzled. He can't understand why there's strong data, but what I hear, what I see, and how I feel are 3 different things. That's the issue. So let us start from the GDP numbers are positive. Total factor productivity, that is the way we have utilized our stock of capital, is also positive. Inflation has gone down from 18% to 15%. The gross external reserves are up by 14% to $40 billion. The price of oil, $78, 81% above the previous year. And oil drives the economy. So that means that you and I and everybody should be feeling better. The budget expenditure for 2022, which was signed today, is 20.6% higher than that of 2021. Now, we are commissioning the largest petrochemical fertilizer and refinery project in the world sometime in 2022. We have the fertilizer plant. Price of fertilizer, meanwhile, has gone up by over 200% because of the current shortages in the world. Corporate profits were up by 30.8% to about 1.3 trillion naira. The stock market is up by, today closed at 5.6%. Nigeria raised $547 million from 5G auction alone 2 weeks ago. We also raised $4 billion from the Eurobond market. We had some money from the IMF, had the SDRs. Airline passengers up by 17%. But that's the good news. Let us now go why people are perplexed. Income per capita dropped by 3% to $2,100. The naira lost 55% of its value in over 3 years, from 363 naira to $1 to 566 naira to $1 today in the parallel market. We've had 2 recessions in 5 years. Life expectancy is 55.75%, the 4th lowest in the world. In other words, if you are a Ghanaian, you are going to live about 6 or 7 years longer than your Nigerian counterpart. Unemployment is at 33%. The misery index is at 48.7. 93.9 million people are in multidimensional poverty. Road accidents last year up by 4.57%. That is 5,101 people died in road accidents. Diaspora remittances also fell. So, what does it tell you? The most important thing here is that official inflation is coming down. But people say, well, how come? I'm having problems. So what we did was to carry out what we call we created a synthetic basket made up of 9 items. The first item was So while the official inflation data is showing 15.4%, that means the prices of goods increased by, between last year and this year, increased by 15%. That's the national basket and across the country. We now looked at Lagos alone, just for a second. And we took one item, number one item, we took cooking gas. It was, December last year, it was 3,600. Now, it went all the way to 10,000, but it's now 8,200, which is 127% higher than. We took rent of a flat in the mainland of Lagos, which was 600,000, went up to 900,000, which is up 50%. Flight ticket between Lagos and Abuja, 36,000 in December last year, now it's 73,000 return. Diesel was 195 naira a litre. December last year, it is 350 naira a litre this year. A bag of flour was 13,500 naira a bag last year. It's now 21,500, 52%. Sardine was 350 naira, Titus sardine. Last year, December, it's now 600 naira. Chicken was 1,500, now 2,200. Olonyi beans was 21,000. Last year, it's now 56,000, 166%. And table water was 50 naira, now 100 naira. The synthetic basket had an average increase of 88%, while the national basket had an average increase of 15%. So what does that mean? But interestingly, the top 5 companies made a total of 788 billion naira in profit after tax. They paid taxes of 386 billion naira. To put in perspective, 788 billion naira is more than what all the states in Nigeria and federal government share in 1 month. So 5 companies made that profit. So it can't be that bad if everybody's making money. And they employed more than 250,000 people. The next slide tells you that what you look like. We're talking about COVID and health. In 2017, the average weight size of a Nigerian was this, and by 2021, it slimmed down a little bit because of COVID.
It's quite fit.
Quite
He
fit.
became fit.
Right, so in the last 5 years, let's look at, we looked at last year and this year. The last 5 years, 12 indicators, 6 green, 6 negative, and 1 neutral. But the most important thing is that we mentioned this. The Economist published its pocketbook of numbers that came out 2 days ago. The fastest growing cities in terms of population in the world. Of the 20 fastest growing cities in population in the world, 5 are in Nigeria. The fastest growing city in terms of population in Nigeria and number 5 in the world is Nnewi. Population has grown by 29.6%. Abuja, 28.4%. Uyo, 28.3%. Port Harcourt, 25.6%. Onitsha, 24.9%.
Lagos is not even on the list.
No, Lagos is depopulating. People, it's hard to survive here. In Lagos, you spend 1,080 hours a year in traffic. And that comes to, if your average lifespan is 55 years, you spend 6 years of your life in traffic by living in Lagos. So, Nigeria, the sleeping giant being awakened. Good news is that Nigeria's GDP is $432 billion. It's largest in Africa. 19% of African GDP is Nigeria. African exports, 20% come from Nigeria, and imports, 17% come to Nigeria. So, when you look at the countries that we compare ourselves with, Nigeria is still the largest GDP, and its growth rate is 4.03. So, compared to South Africa, Ghana, and Angola, Nigeria is not doing badly at all. Now, big elephant in the room is the currencies. When you look at the currencies of Nigeria, of African countries, we took 4 of them. Angola, our producing country like Nigeria. In the last year, they are the only ones that their currency appreciated. They appreciated by 13%. But over 3 years, the Angolan currency has dropped by 83%. The Nigerian currency has dropped by 55% in value in 3 years. Ghana, 25%, and South Africa, 9%. So, the point is that Nigeria has more exports than these countries. Why will this currency be weaker? Because there are some structural problems, and that is it's work in progress. And now, what's going to happen next year? First half of the year, economic policies and reforms. Second half of the year, is politics, politics, and politics. Then we looked at, do the elections have a negative impact on economic activity? Normally it happens because investors are worried. But if you look at Nigeria in 2015, the graphs show you that 2015, when there was an election, actually the economy was a bit unstable. In 2019, it did better. So the Nigerian economy defies electoral. And why is it going to defy? Because this time, the election is probably going to be more transparent than it was because of technology. Edo State, Anambra State, and all the elections are showing that people have to be accountable. It is easier to govern properly than to bribe people. So there's no guarantee that the people you are bribing are going to vote for you. So we have two scenarios as we close out this presentation. One is the bullish scenario, where the price of oil goes up to $120 a barrel, production up to 1.9 million barrels, subsidies are removed, Dangote refinery and petrochemical were launched, the exchange rate appreciates to 520, inflation maintains the downward trend to 13%, and election spending boosts the economy. The impact is beautiful. There's the base case scenario where we say the price of oil stays at 80, production at 1.8, exchange rate appreciate because of proper management. We believe that the central bank will do the right thing, and the exchange rate will appreciate to 530. Inflation will rise first and then drop later on, and external reserves will decline because we are using it to support the currency. So all we can say is Happy New Year.
Okay, let me come to you, Dr. Yusuf, and take it from the Happy New Year. You've seen the stats. On some, I saw you nodding. On others, your head didn't move. And as someone who is now promoting private enterprise, from what you saw, is 2022 going to be the optimistic, the base, or the difficult scenario?
Well, from the data that Bismarck showed, it's interesting, he talked about strong data and perplexed citizens. The whole essence of sound economic management is about people. The economy basically is about people. You'll be talking about the welfare of the people. You'll also be talking about the prosperity of businesses, particularly the SMEs. If you look at the economy on the score of these two critical parameters of measuring the impact of economic governance on people or businesses, it has not been very good. The economy was devastated by two major things, possibly three. One is inflation, and Bismarck said it. Of course, we talk about headline inflation nationally of 15.4% as at November. But if you look at the basket of things that the average person consumes, his data showed that we are talking about over 80% inflation. You know the implication of that for the purchasing power of the average people or average person. Incomes are not increasing. In some instances, people have even lost their jobs. And yet, we are faced with a situation where the purchasing power is being eroded to the tune of over 80%. You can imagine the shock, the impact of that. The same thing with businesses. Although the data showed that some big businesses did well. But many SMEs, of course, many of them are struggling to survive.
Many of them, in fact, closed down.
Many closed down because costs have so gone up dramatically, and there's a limit to which you can pass on the costs to your consumers. In many cases, the consumers just walk away. The consumers reprioritized their spending. So both on the SME side and on the welfare side, we have not fared well at all.
So how do you find that balance in the economics? Because many times when you bring analysts, the average person says, it's fantastic on paper. It looks good, and you know, those who know better tell us, this is the data, this is what it's saying, but they're hungry. And obviously this is January is just tomorrow. People are already thinking of school fees and all that. What sort of economics should we begin to transact to bridge that gap?
You see, what is important in all of this is to connect this data to the reality of the welfare of the people.
How do we do that?
It's to look at all the key indicators. In economics, we have what we call economic growth and economic development. You have development parameters. How easy is it for people to feed? In Yoruba proverb, there's a Yoruba proverb that says that if you take food out of the problem of poverty, whatever is left can easily be managed. How is it can people feed? What are the factors impacting access to food? We have to interrogate that. Basic things and like health care.
Let me put you on pause, because when you mentioned the issue of food there,
yes.
Our guest in Abuja is deeply involved, or rather in Kano Studios, is deeply involved in the production of one of the staples.
I think we should even introduce him. He's the national president of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, Qabir Ibrahim. Thanks for joining us and welcome to the conversation. It's important that we also reach out to you to talk about this because of food. How was it for you in 2021? We know that many people have gone to the markets and they're feeling what is going on. But at source, farming, you know, where you are, how have you been affected?
Well, as a farmer, I also have to buy other things that I do not grow. And it happens to every farmer in Nigeria. There is skyrocketing prices of food, and we can fixate it to a number of factors. There are many threat factors that have caused this. COVID-19 is very important in this, and then with insecurity that in the beginning prevented our farmers from going to the market to produce optimally. Then we had climate change. NIMAT had advised on some things in 2021, and some of the farmers adhered to the advice, but others did not. So it's a gamut of things that caused food insufficiency. And then prices of food has gone up, and everybody is complaining, and blame is even being put on the farmers' doors. But we sell at the farm gate, and our prices are not very bad. The middlemen are really making a kill here. But coming, to the reality of Nigeria, in all other sectors, and everybody is complaining. The report that we have from the experts, the economists, is a mixed bag of successes and failures. The average Nigerian feels the pangs of hunger and a lot of poverty. Therefore, whatever you say, you need to really explain it in such a way that I and several others would feel that the economy is working. If we can't buy food, we can't feed our families adequately, we cannot do the things that we would normally do, and some of them that we took for granted, we will always cry that things are not working. So, and food is a very fundamental issue here. Even though, the COVID-19 has brought with it a global problem on food, the food system all over the world is affected. You can see the efforts of the UN. The Secretary General convened a dialogue and launched it actually in September. The whole world needs to work very hard, and the farmers need to work very assiduously to be able to provide food so that we have food sufficiency and the ultimate food security that countries like Nigeria desire. So it's work in progress, as the experts say, but there are many, many problems along the line, and we need to address them properly. There are a lot of incentives in Nigeria today, a lot of investments in agriculture and all that, And there is a policy that will be launched very soon, probably in the first quarter. And if it is implemented very well, I believe we will see some respite. 2021 has not been very, very good for most Nigerians. In fact, the challenges are so many that some people are beginning to lose hope. But we are hopeful that 2022 will be better. And especially if some work is done on the security or insecurity, as the case may be. Okay, Mr. Rewani. Apologies. Issues around SMEs and many other things are very valid, as the MD of BOI said. You know, once small businesses don't work and the larger businesses work, we tend to look at it as monopolistic. The big companies will always survive because they have monopoly of all these things. With small businesses, like I have a bakery, I had to close it down because when I buy flour and buy sugar at the prices that obtained today, it is not possible for me to sell my bread where I live. I live in Katsina. And so it is exceedingly difficult for small businesses to thrive.
Let me come back to you.
That's why I think...
Carry on, sir, please.
The problem in Nigeria is that the small man is not properly incentivized to continue to do what they do optimally. So, and we are the majority. Therefore, there are very, very serious complaints all over the country of poverty. And it is very, very important that the economists look at that. We should be the engine room of growth, not the monopolies, not the big, the Dangotes and the Nestle's and all those people. The small people, the aggregate of what we get and what we do is what makes the country go. In the United States, they have the Small Business Administration, and they do a lot of work. They incentivize small businesses, and that is why they have food security. And food security means that you are able to eat what you want to eat at the right time, and what you eat is also nutritious enough to keep you going, to keep all your faculties working so that you go to the moon. And that's what happens in the first world. In Nigeria, we do not have that possibility.
All right, let me bring it back to you, Mr. Rewani, because some people would say this all begins from the budget. Yeah. And we all know about the signing of the appropriation bill. Some would say if we do not appropriate right, we're not going to get any, good results. Is that something that you think is a factor?
The budget is important, not just how much you spend, but it's important because it sets the fiscal tone, and that enables everybody to take a cue from there. So the budget as a tool of economic management, rather than how much you spend, is important. I think you have to understand something that, one, that the budget increase was about 16% over the previous year. But if you use inflation and you discount that budget for inflation, actually there's zero growth. Two, 16 trillion naira in an economy of 165 trillion naira is less than 10% of the economic size. So let's discount the budget. But it's interesting that people are talking about all of these things. The problems of Nigeria are well documented. What we should be talking about is the solutions. So we took a straw poll of 100 Nigerians and asked them, what do you think? 60 of the 100 said, we are tired of lame excuses. 20 of them said, we are tired of false promises. And the last 20 said, we don't care. That tells you why people are perplexed. So strong data perplex people. How do we get out of it? You said the big companies. 5 companies made 788 billion naira profit, but paid 386 billion naira in taxes. In other words, they gave back to society that. So we shouldn't say that the problems of the economy is because some people are making it and some people are not making it. No, but even the Bible says, that unto him who has, more shall be given. Unto him who has none, even a little,
yes, shall be taken away.
No, but that to put in a facetious. But the reality is that small companies need to be encouraged with motivated with policies that encourage them so that they don't get marginalized. The policies have to be consistent because the big companies will buy from the small companies to employ people, and these people who are employed are the ones that make sure that there will be no insecurity, right? So that is why we started off by talking about the good things that have happened, but converting those good things into action points to welfare so that this generation will live a better life than the previous generation, not the other way around.
Mr. Yusuf, just quickly now, if you were one of the people who took that straw poll, what would you say? I know we need to run.
Well,
as a small man.
Well, as a small man, but you know, in all of this, policy has a major effect on everything. If the policy is not right, a lot of things will be affected. Whether you are SME, whether you are a common man. So the policy environment needs to be right. Because if the policy is not right, you cannot have investment. All of these things we are talking is about building the confidence of investors. And when I'm talking about investors, I'm not talking about the Dangotes and the big companies. Even the small farmer is also an investor. So we need to create that environment for those investments to thrive. And we also need good policy to create the right kind of macroeconomic environment. I mean, look at what has happened to the currency. I mean, look at the data that Bismarck just showed us. And you know the kind of systemic effect that the depreciation of the currency can have on both businesses and the welfare of the people. Look at issues of regulation. What are the regulatory agencies, what are they bringing to the table to support small businesses? Look at the challenges at the ports. All of these things have a way of impacting on everybody. So we need to have a holistic approach. And of course, earlier you have discussed the issue of insecurity. A large segment of the economy has been affected by that. It has a lot of economic implications.
Indeed.
So these are some of the things that we need to do, you know, to make sure that at least we get this economy back on its feet.
All right, then. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Let's start, of course, Ajay, from the Kano studios.
Indeed.
Thanking our guest there, the president of the All Farmers Association of Nigeria, Alhaji Qabir Faskari. And here in Lagos, of course, Mr. Bismarck Rouhani, always a pleasure. And Dr. Muda Yusuf, always a pleasure. And compliments of the season, gentlemen. And a happy new year in a couple of hours. Thank you so much for
a bright new year, Mr. Rouhani.